I refused to hyphenate my daughter's last name on the birth certificate after my mother-in-law showed up with a printed form already filled out. My wife Claire and I had talked about the last name thing for most of her pregnancy. We went back and forth. I won't lie, I wanted our daughter to have my last name, but Claire felt strongly that a hyphen was fair, and honestly, I came around. We landed on hyphenating. It was our decision made together in our kitchen at like 11 p.m. with a bowl of cereal between us. I remember we shook on it like it was a business deal and then laughed about how tired we were. Then my mother-in-law, Diane, showed up to the hospital. Claire was in labor for about 14 hours. She was exhausted and incredible, and I basically hadn't slept either. Diane got there a few hours before the birth, which was fine, we'd expected that. She sat in the waiting room and didn't cause problems, and I genuinely appreciated it. After the baby was born and we'd had maybe an hour with her, Diane came in. She held the baby. She cried. It was a real moment. I'm not gonna pretend it wasn't. She kept saying she was perfect, she was so beautiful, and that part was true. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. I thought it was a card. Maybe some paperwork from her side of the family, I don't know. Instead, she set it on the hospital tray next to Claire's water cup and opened it, and inside was a birth certificate form. Pre-filled. Our daughter's name was on there, first and middle, which we'd shared with the family weeks ago. And then the last name. Just mine. My last name only. No hyphen. Claire looked at it. Then she looked at me. Diane was still holding the baby and didn't look up. She said it so casually like she was reading off a grocery list. I just thought it would be cleaner. Hyphenated names are so complicated for kids. Teachers mispronounce them. They don't fit on forms. She kind of laughed. This was just easier. I picked up the form and held it for a second. I said, Diane, where did you get a hospital birth certificate form? She said she'd printed it online, that there were templates. I said, so you printed a birth certificate form for our daughter, filled it out with the name you prefer, and brought it to the hospital. She finally looked up. I just wanted to help. The nurses are busy and sometimes these things get rushed and I didn't want you to be pressured into anything. Claire said, very quietly. We weren't pressured into anything, Mom. We made this decision together. Diane's face did this thing where it stayed totally neutral but her eyes went somewhere else. I know. I'm just saying you could change the plan. It's not too late. She'd have a stronger identity with one clear name, don't you think? I set the form back down on the tray. I said, we're not using this. Diane said, I just thought. I said, Diane, stop. You don't get a vote here. We spent months figuring out what we wanted for her and we don't need you to hand us a different answer in a folder. She went quiet. Then she looked at Claire like I'd said something unreasonable and was waiting for Claire to soften it. Claire didn't say anything for a second and then she said, you should probably let us rest. And that was it. Diane handed the baby back and left about 20 minutes later. That night, the actual hospital social worker came in with the real forms. Claire filled them out. Our daughter's last name is hyphenated. Both of ours in the order we decided. I signed where I was supposed to sign and that was that. Diane texted Claire the next morning. Long message. Something about how she only wanted what was best and she hoped we'd reconsider and that she'd heard hyphenated names were associated with higher divorce rates, which she had clearly just looked up. Claire read it out loud to me. I asked if she wanted to respond. She thought about it and said no. We were home by the second day. My parents came over, brought food, held the baby, left after 2 hours because they could tell we were running on nothing. Diane called 4 times in the first week. Claire answered once. They talked for about 10 minutes and Claire was patient through the whole thing, and at the end she just said, Mom, her name is decided. That part's done. And then she hung up and ate a sandwich. I don't know what Diane expected to happen at that hospital. I don't know if she thought we'd be too tired to argue, or if she thought she could get Claire alone first. Our daughter has had her name for 6 weeks now. Diane still hasn't said it out loud,